Hello everyone, Neith here, and we are back for another iteration of the Tableau-Style card reading series. I think this is number 5, I'm not sure. Whatever number it is, I'll put it in the title. And I'm mostly over my cold. I'm actually doing a lot better, but I still have a bit of a cough, so I will pause the video if I feel that coming on. And I do have a cough drop in right now, so sorry if you can sometimes hear it in my mouth, but here we go. So I don't remember what my plans were for the next iteration of this series, if I had a different topic in mind for the Tableau style here. But in any case, I want to experiment with differently shaped cards and how we can do Tableau style reading with differently shaped cards. So in front of me, I have the In Dragonfly shade Lenormand, which is actually square, but it's triangle shaped. So all of the pictures and the numbers are not triangle, I'm sorry, diamond, in a diamond shape. So all the cards are in a diamond shape. So it is an oddly shaped Lenormand. And I also have the original version of the Citadel deck. This was the limited edition version from Liminal 11, and you only got this if you got, I think it was a special edition of the Seed and Sickle Oracle that came with a mini version of the Citadel deck. Now, I don't have all of the cards in here because I actually am using this currently for my monthly envelopes, so several of the cards are missing from this deck, but I thought we'd give this a shot too, and as you can see, it is kind of that hexagonal shape. There we go. And I have a few makeshift little decks that I just made, also with the hexagonal shape. One is an Ogham deck and one is a Lenormand, and I literally just made these right before this video, so that's why they're very rudimentary. It's just the titles or just the Ogham, so I thought I'd mess around with these as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off with the In Dragonfly shade Lenormand, since it's the only one that's a little bit different out of all of these, because I pretty much seem to be focusing on the hexagonal shape. So we'll start off with the diamond one first. So this, as I mentioned, is a diamond-shaped Lenormand. Now, you can lay it out in a normal grid style like this. You don't necessarily have to use the diamond shape. If you're more comfortable with the regular, Tableau style, like laying it out this way, that's totally fine. You could definitely do it this way. So, and that works just fine. You can read it as you read it. However, this is actually diamond shaped. So that leaves a lot to experiment with the different layouts. And now I did already try to do this a little bit in the video that I walked through this deck. I was playing around with it a little bit. And I think the base reading that I started off with was a simple 4 card. So as you can tell, now the numbers of the layouts change. With the regular style, it's usually in groups of 3, like a 3 by 3 or a 2 by 3, or a 5 card line, etc. It's a little bit different with this because now we have to think about, because we could just have a 3 card little arrowhead, basically is what I could potentially call this reading here. But because this is such an oddly shaped deck, as opposed to just the regular square. Okay, not sure what I was just saying because I had to pause this, but yeah, but it just because of this layout, it makes the most sense to do it like this. And this is how I was doing just simple readings. Instead of 3 card readings, it's a 4 card reading now. And when I had this as my nightly reader, this was what I did. Now, so how I read this, so as you saw, I laid it out like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so the progression, I would read it like this. That's the progression. like that. And of course, this is just how I'm reading it. You could, if you think it makes the most sense to read it where it maybe goes like this, so that this is the final card, which does have a certain logic to it, it being the furthest one this way. Go for it. But to me, I think it makes the most sense to read the progression as I lay it out. So it goes from here to here to here. So there we go. Now with this layout, we also have some things that we can do with it. So we have the progression of the reading. And then we have an arrow up and an arrow down. So this is, it could be the as above and the so below, or it could be the intangible, like, the things you can't really control, or your thoughts and feelings right here, versus the things you can control, or the tangible, or the things that you have more domain over right here. And then you can also read into perhaps the fact that the cards that are touching, are more connected to each other versus the cards that are at an angle, like at across from each other, like that. So perhaps these have a certain disconnection versus the ones that are connected. So that's another way that you can read that. Another layout I was working with was like this, where it basically has 3 cards this way that are slightly disconnected, since they're not connected all on one side. And then we have the arrow this way and the arrow this way. So this is more past influences. This is more future, likely events in the future. And then we have this nice X right here, which I do like this. I like the X. Like, we could have it just like this. We don't even necessarily need the end cards here. But I do like the end cards. So with this, like, we could have the answer to the question right here, the hidden influences right here, and then past influences, future likely events, and then the current situation right there. Ooh, just got myself some water because I am definitely still coughing a little bit, even though I'm feeling much, much better. But the dry coughing is happening now. So it's like that post-cold coughs, and this is probably the most talking I've done in several days. So anyway. Now, of course, you can also change this up a little bit. And instead of having it this way, we could actually have it this way. I don't think I'm fully in frame there, but you could do something like this, or you could finish out and have this is basically a 9-card box. It's just sideways. So this is a full 9-card diamond, would probably be what I called this. Now, what's interesting about this is now we have 2 5-card lines. So now the as above is a 5-card line, and the so below is basically a 5-card line, except it's a 5-card arrow and a 5-card arrow up and down. We still have the answer to the question, and we still have the hidden influences right here. And now we have some corner pieces. And at this point, you could also do some knighting. So this is definitely, you could still end up doing the 9-card box here. It just might be a bit different to how you read it. So the center card is still the center card. I think this would be quite important, and then this would be important somehow. But because they're also disconnected, we might somehow read into that. I'm not exactly sure how, but that is one way you could do it as well. And then the finished card perhaps would be down here, the sun card here, instead of what would be, if this turned this way, then this one would be the finished card. But in the diamond like this, I think this makes the most sense. I'm zooming out here for a little bit to start laying out like a grand tableau. Now, this is something I'm still kind of working out a little bit with this diamond shape, but basically starting off like that. Basically doing a zigzag of sorts, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and probably it makes more sense to do a 9-card when doing these oddly shaped, like a 9-card line, like that. Oops. And see, and I've already gotten them a little bit not quite right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And continuing to go in this sort of way here. filling in right here. Now this seems a bit odd to do it this way. I don't think it works as well as some of the smaller spreads, and I think when you have these oddly shaped tableaus like that, like this, it makes the most sense to do them in moving my cup out of the way here, in in the smaller spread. So maybe I went too far there. There we go. So yeah, just sort of filling it out like this, seeing how far I can take it here. Okay, very difficult to get all of those cards in here, but I got all of them on here, and that's what it would look like in this sort of grand tableau layout. And the main thing I noticed with that is that we have that 4-card diamond right here in the center, and which would basically give us the heart of the matter here. Whatever's going on, we have the 4-card right there. And we have a few long diagonals right here. So this X right there would be important, I think, and perhaps the one going the other way as well. And I think what makes the most sense with this sort of type of grand tableau is to look at these little 4-card boxes, these little 4-card diamonds. And we could also look for a 9-card, but I think for this, the little 4 cards make the most sense. But of course, it's up to experimentation, and it doesn't have to be in this particular layout. We could figure out a different layout as well. So that brings us to the hexagonal shape, which I actually prefer. I like this hexagonal shape. I'm interested in perhaps making a deck that is hexagonal like this. And yeah, so anyway, so this one's pretty fun. You can start off with a center card, and then, do it this way. And then we have an as above sort of thing and a so below sort of thing here. And then we have this, what I call a flower. So this would be kind of a flower spread or a flower box, how you might look at it like that. And to me, this is essentially the same thing as the 9-card box with a regular like Lenormand or Tableau-style reading. So, I mean, how I might read this, we have a nice progression line right here. And then we have that X right here. So we have the answer to the question, we have the hidden influences, we have a progression, we have past, we have future, we have influences coming down. So influences that we have no control over versus things that we, a foundation or things that we have more control over down here. So the intangible and the tangible. And this is a layout that I think works pretty well, and I quite like this flower layout, the flower box for the hexagonal shape. Now we could also call this a honeycomb. That could work as well. So there we go, and that would be another sort of name for this sort of the hexagonal style is a honeycomb style tableau. Now, with that said, I'm not sure how this would really work with this particular deck. Because this is a deck of archetypes, we could still find a way to read this, like a tableau. I mean, we have Acolyte. That's a good starting card. Acolyte, Archer, Priest. I mean, that does seem like something, perhaps some strategic work here. Archer, you got to pinpoint things. And then kind of a priest, perhaps this is a progression of skill and getting to a point where you can perhaps teach others or guide others as a priest here. And I mean, there's certain ways you could read a deck like this, a deck of archetypes in that Tableau style. And then you could also do something like this, just a pyramid. That's what I would call this, a pyramid tableau here, where we have a start, a middle, and an end here, and that's perhaps how you would read it. And then you have like 2 lines this way and this way. Perhaps this is your answer, or and this is hidden influence. Maybe we have a core of the situation right here, and the straight up progression right here. So we have the sides of the triangle, basically. We have the past side, we have the future side, we have the reality of the situation. And of course, I'm just making this up right now because I haven't really tried this, but you have something like that, and then these would be the core of the issue, and then you can read into the corners like that as well. Of course, as mentioned, an archetypes deck like that is maybe a little bit too much to have so many cards on the table. Maybe a deck like that would work better if it was just 3 cards or something like that. So before I started this video, I have these little tiles. They're, well, tiles. They're pieces of paper. This is for like quilting. These are quilting hexagons. I don't know if there's a special name for them, but I got a packet, and there's like 500 of these that came in this, and it was like, I don't know, like $4 or something, maybe $7 for a pack of like 500, and they're very, very thin, so they wouldn't make very good cards in general, but I just went through right before this video and just put Lenormand on all of these, so there's 36 here. And I decided to put them point down instead of this way where it's flat on the bottom because it just, I don't know, when I was trying out different layouts with this, the flat on the bottom was just a little harder to do because you kind of have to, there's a separation. So one, you got to kind of do something like this, you know, which can get a little bit odd. And the diamond one was the same way, where you kind of had to go like this. And it's a little wonky to figure out, but it makes the most sense to do it just with point down, because then you have this nice thing to connect right there. So you got a line right there to connect, and then you can do 9 cards this way. And so doing a grand tableau with this style is, it makes the most sense from what I was experimenting with to do a 9x4. Okay, we can't quite get them all in here, but you know, this is what a 9x4 would be. Perhaps we could change this up a little bit and maybe have alternate how many's on there. Maybe like 8 and 7 and 8 and 7 and, you know, something like that. That could perhaps be a variation on this so that it's not so long or wide here. But we have 4 lines, 4 9-card lines all the way across for each one. So you can break down what that sort of means. And then we can have little flower boxes in different places. So perhaps child is an important thing. So we can read the flower box around child. Or let's say, maybe it is, what is another thing that would stand out? Maybe fox, because some people use fox as the money card, perhaps. Or ring, maybe we're talking about a commitment of some sort, so we could read the box around ring. So there we go. I mean, you doing something like that, maybe wherever the significator is, here's the significator here. So reading the box around the significator. And as far as knighting, I don't think you could really do a lot of knighting with this sort of layout because it doesn't quite work the same way. Key, you know, you can look for key. And then there's a bunch of like diagonal lines that perhaps you can read. Maybe you read the diagonal around the significator. So the diagonal going this way and the diagonal going that way. Reading into that. Final card here is sun. That's nice. That's a good reading there. Can't quite get the whole one in here. So, again, I think, you know, experimenting with the different layouts could be a fun activity. So that said, I think I'm much more comfortable with the smaller spread here. And as I said, there are different layouts you could do. You could do the triangle or the pyramid. We could do more lines going off this way. So this was a little spread that I did right before I did this video. You know, once I made these cards, I laid out a little bit, a few spreads to see what I liked. And this was a flower spread that I laid out. Now I did place the center card first, then the 2 cards attached to it, and then the 2 cards above and the 2 cards below. But you could lay it out like just like this. That could work as well. Now, you know, this could have something to do with a house, you know, your home, etc. Because you know, or where you're feeling the most safe, your safe space. That is kind of how I read the house, since that is the center card here. Now, I am usually significator number 29, so this 28 could represent my husband or the closest outside significator aside from myself. So in my case, it would be my husband, but for someone else, it could be their partner, it could be a very close friend, or the other person in the question, etc. It's the secondary significator. So, I mean, with the past influences here, what led to this situation? We have significator, bouquet, and snake. So, so the partner in the situation is bringing some sort of gift, but there's some sort of secretiveness around it. Something sneaky here going on. You know, and looking at this as a whole, I see only one real negative card, and that is the snake here. But we have two definitely positive cards, and the rest are pretty neutral, or the book, I think, can lean negative sometimes because it can represent secrets, and with it being next to the snake, I would kind of read it like that. So perhaps slightly negative here, but or leaning negative, especially next to the snake. But the book is also more of a neutral because it can also represent knowledge or uncovering things. But fish and bouquet, super positive. Snake is the only real negative. Significator, house, tower, these are all pretty neutral. House, I may actually say neutral, positive, only because it can also represent a safe space. So can be a slightly more positive. But anyway, I do apologize for the lighting changes. I'm in front of a window, and the clouds are going in and in front of the sun, sometimes moving back and forth. It's a little windy outside, but super hot. Anyway, so the past is, you know, the significator bringing something in, but there's something sort of secretive about this. The future events here, what it's sort of leading to. Fish is abundance, and tower I often associate with things that are more official, long-standing. I also associate tower with workplaces, and I don't often see people associating the tower with things like work. Usually you see fish or anchor, even fox, but I do associate the tower a bit with more official works, because I think of it kind of like a headquarters. And, you know, connected to house, it could be a home office or something like that. But it also represents things that are long-standing, things that are going to have lasting effects because it's stuck in place. It is tall. You know, the tower is tall, so it's something that reaches far. Do apologize that I keep having to pause to cough. I am over this cold, but you know, that the lingering coughing is still very much there, and it's a lot of dry coughing. But anyway, so fish with tower and book, for the future, like this is something that is bringing in long-lasting cash, and it could have to do with financial books, etc. right here. So this is something that is perhaps a financial gain going on. So even though we do have this one negative card pertaining to secrets down here, it does still end up being a pretty positive thing. The current situation, the reality of the situation right here, basically it's talking about that something coming into the home, you know, a gift of some sort coming into the home that has this long-lasting effect. And there is a secretiveness around it, but it is something that's bringing abundance, especially to the home. Perhaps there's maybe some negative feelings surrounding the fact that there was a secretiveness around it. But you know, it is something that's going to be, in general, a pretty positive thing, and that's kind of how I was reading this. So, of course, we can expand on it. We can have larger spreads going like this, something like that. I would say this is a sort of diamond in this sort of shape. Of course, we don't quite have all the cards here, but This is a honeycomb diamond, perhaps something like that. Let's see, and there's, you know, different layouts we can try with that. I kind of just, you know, when it comes to this, I really just like this, the flower box, basically. The other option is, of course, like I said before, the diamond shape, or not the diamond, the pyramid. So there we go. So when you have the differently shaped Lenormand cards right here, it's very much a possibility that when you shuffle your cards and stuff, you'll start laying out some cards that are in lots of different shapes. So, you know, laying it out like this, and that doesn't quite work with Lenormand because Lenormand doesn't have, you know, reversals or anything like that. So, and this is another sort of layout we could do. Like this. It's kind of a little bit of an extended reading here. So there we go. But, you know, with Lenormand, you don't read reversals or anything. So I'm sure this is driving people nuts to see it like this. And it kind of drives me nuts too. So I don't like to do something like this. But so that's why I actually made the little OM version as well. So this is something that I was thinking about doing, where I did each of the cards in the OM, and I also included the forfeda. So this is 25 cards here, and you know, if I were to expand on this, I might make multiple in different colors. I don't know. It would be something I would experiment with. But there's 25 OMs. So you could do the same sort of layout. You could do the, you know, the little flower box here, just like that, where everything's upright like that. There we go. Or we can, one of the things I was considering, I have some markers over here. Excuse me. And basically labeling each of the edges. So like started, you know, red for fire, yellow for air, green for earth, blue for water, and then a purple for spirit, etc. Sorry about my coughing there. Of course, this doesn't quite work because there's I have 5 colors here, and there are 6 sides. It is a hexagon. So the other thing I could do with the fact that there are 6 sides to this, well, in Celtic paganism, Irish paganism, there is the whole land, sea, and sky element to it. So what I could do is basically have the opposites mean something. So have land, and then sea and sky, or something like that, you know. And then however they end up laying out, I can read into the connections. So, for example, for land, let's do the bottom ones right here. Land, right here. And we can do land, and then sea, here and here. Oops, here and here, right here. And then finally, sky. We'll do yellow for sky. I'll do a few of these and just lay them out and see how they, you know, connect. Okay, here's what one of the flower boxes, or a honeycomb box, would look like, with all the sides colored here to indicate the different sides. Now everything is upright here, so we see the blues are connecting, across, the yellows are connecting this way, and the greens are connecting this way. Now, you know, I'm, you know, putting the land, sea, and sky interpretation to the different colors, with land being green, sea being blue, and sky being yellow. You could change that to the mundane life, or mundane concerns. So the green for that, perhaps. Mental feelings, etc., with the blue. And then more spiritual, or you know, higher calling sort of energies, you know, body, mind, spirit, basically is what I was trying to say, with the yellows, perhaps something like that. And of course, reading like that, or we can start, shaking them all up. And let's say we lay out anything like this there that happens to be like that. And then we'll do this here. So you see, this is now sideways. We got another one going the same way. This going like this, and then like this, and like this, and like this. Okay. This didn't turn correctly. There we go. All right. So now we have this sort of layout here where they're all in sort of different ways here. And as I'm noticing here, let's see, we don't have any of the blue sides touching the center card. Of course, we have the blue sides because each side has blue, green, and yellow. So each card has each of them. But none of the other cards' blue sides are touching the center card. So that may be something that I read into. What I do see is an abundance of the yellows touching the center card here. So we've got yellow touching this, yellow, 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 and then green right there. So that is something I would potentially read into as well. So, I mean, that is an interesting way to do it. And you could still read going like that. Do you want to change the meaning if something is upside down versus, you could. But I think I would stick to just I would read it as normal and then reading the colors and how they connect to the center card. I'm just experimenting here. Another shape I can experiment with is triangles. And you can see I here did a red, yellow, and blue edging for these. And I'm basically taking that hexagon. And let me do this real quick. And just connecting the two sides here. And I can be rough with this. I was, the first couple that I did, I was using a ruler. But I have the slicer right here. And so I don't actually need the ruler. So yellow on this side. And blue on the bottom. Here. And of course we can put our own meanings as to what this could mean. So let me go ahead and slice this, making sure the corners are in the slicer. There we go. We got these little leftovers here. Sorry about my coughing. Really hate getting sick, Messes up my mojo. All right. All right, so, I mean, now we have a nice equilateral triangle here, and we can lay out the triangles how we see fit or, randomly. There we go. Or we could do something like this where we basically just make a pyramid. And, I would have to put some sort of symbol on these to indicate something. Hey, that looks like Zelda. So I would perhaps, let's say I laid out a reading like this, and I would say all the cards touching the center card were red, Okay, so I made 9 of these just now, and what I ended up doing was putting numbers on them. I smeared the one a little bit, so these I literally just finished this, so they might smear some more, but, this is just for a practice thing, figuring this out. Oh, and see, I already smeared again. It's okay. But, in a larger deck, there would be more to it, obviously. I literally just put this together. But, so you could shuffle like crazy, and I can see all the smears that I'm making on the back here. That's fine. It's whatever. So then we now have a numerology deck. So we have 1 through 9. Of course, you can make more cards. I just stuck with 1 through 9. And so then, let's see, turning some of these around, kind of doing a flip-flop thing. There we go. So now we have a reading. So I don't know what question we can come up with. Maybe what does Elizabeth, random name, need to do to get that promotion? Okay, what does Elizabeth need to do to get the promotion? So we're going to start off with the center card, and I think I'm going to do it like this, center card. All right. So we can look at it like this. This is, you know, we've got, I put 6 on, so it's the card number 6. So I'd say 6 is a pretty good card to get if you're looking for a promotion. I mean, 6 is, you know, harmony, healing, etc. So that might be a good sign. It is with blue at the bottom. I'm not sure if that's something we could read into. Perhaps. I think maybe, let's see, the red side could indicate conflict, perhaps, because we want to have something that is sort of, that is negative. Yeah, something that's like negative, neutral, and positive. So perhaps the red is negative. Neutral would be yellow, and then positive would be blue. So 6, and this, since this is the bottom, I think that would be indicating a pretty good thing. But adding on to that, so let's do this. Ooh, okay, so we've got something negative from behind going on. A past experience is negative, and it is 9, so there's a certain anxiety. So nines having to do with fruition and completion. I mean, completion, we could have a 10 card in here, but I just stuck with 1 through 9, so there's no 0 card. So in that sense, I would say 9 is more of the completion card, or the attainment, or anticipation / anxiety, etc. And then so that's sort of what's behind, what's in the future. We got right here. Okay, so now we have different colors touching. So we have yellow was neutral, but it's positive, and it's going to 5. So I would maybe read this as is Elizabeth getting the job, basically, and we might read that as yes, yes. But there was anxiety about it, but there's perhaps a lot she's got to. There's a challenge going on here, and especially with it being red at the top. But it's you know, I feel like whatever is the base color right here is what it's supposed to be. I don't know. I'm making this up. And then, but where the colors are touching, I think is one way to read into that. Of course, we could do it like this. That way, we could do a diamond shape. And this one was the blue touching, wasn't it? No. It was red. Red. Wait. This was like this. So, let's see. I'm trying to figure this out. All right, so something like this, I guess. So if we laid it out like that, the center card is 6, and then the past card is 9. A certain anxiety going into it, but it is positive, a positive progression, but to a challenge. And yeah, so it's something that's going to be pretty challenging. And of course, we can finish it off with 8 at the top. 8 authority could be like the boss situation, and it's blue to blue here, so perhaps a positive feeling on Elizabeth's skills. Yeah, I mean, you know, I could keep going on that. We could lay out some sort of tableau with this, with all 9, perhaps. I don't know. But that was a fun little experiment, really quick little craft. Of course, smudging everywhere. You know, there are other triangle-shaped oracle cards out there. There's one that I can't remember the name of. If I remember, I'll put it up on screen. I think it has something to do with bugs or something, but I think it's a long out of print too. But you know, and this is a tiny little thing. Perhaps if I was going to do a triangle-shaped oracle, it would be larger, or, you know, something like that. Okay, so that was the different ways of reading differently shaped tableaus. You know, kind of doing a honeycomb tableau with a hexagonal shape. Diamond shaped ones, and experimenting a little bit with a triangle shape. So and there's other different shapes. We could pull out a circle, but I don't think circle shaped decks would fare well with Tableau-Style, only because, you know, there's no real sides to it. So, I mean, could you? Sure, you know, and I bet you could do something with the mini version of the archetypes, wild unknown archetypes. The little mini version, you could do a little 9 card thing there. I'm sure that would work, you know. But anyway, so thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm not sure what the next Tableau video will be about, but I think I'm kind of making them up as I come across them, so I guess it'll be a mystery. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye!